Hello and welcome yet again to another amazing expert interview. If you've seen some in the past, you know you are in store for a great interview. Lots of golden nuggets are going to be dropped onto your plate here, and you are going to have action steps you can take away with you and take charge of your health right now, today. So I am Leah Vachani, and I am very excited to introduce today's guest, Beth Phillips. Beth is a holistic health trainer who has spent a substantial part of her life looking into natural remedies for everyday health concerns and the big kahunas. After 6 years in the medical field, she took that knowledge and continued on the search for the best solutions that would not only address the symptom, but also get to the root of what people are dealing with physically and emotionally. After a decade of doing this for clients all over the world, she has opened up a wellness center in the Pacific Northwest mountains of North Idaho. While she still loves to meet with clients over Zoom, she wanted to create a healing space where people can leave their cares at the door and step into a time that is just for them. Wow, Beth, you make me want to go there right now to your wellness center. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And yes, I would love to have you. We wanted to create a space, especially for moms, to just leave all the cares at the door and just be able to focus on us for a little bit.
Yeah, we need more of that. So I'm going to be signing up, checking it out. So today we're actually going to be talking about breast health and our lymphatic system. And, to be honest, Beth, I have breasts, but I don't really know much about breast health. And I really don't know much about the lymphatic system and how it affects breast health. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into this. Can we just start by talking about what is our lymph system and what does it do?
Absolutely. So, yeah, this is a topic that I love talking about because as women, like you said, we have these different body parts that are special to us, and we don't necessarily think about that we do need to take care of them. And this is something that should be part of kind of our daily routine, not something that we wait for an issue to pop up with and then try to address it then. So our lymphatic system, it is a highway of tubes. It's kind of cool. If you Google it, you can see where your lymph nodes are, but it's a highway of tubes that produce antibodies, and it transports this fluid throughout your body. And when our lymph system isn't functioning as it should be, then it directly impacts our immune system. So we talk about our immune system a lot. We work on having a strong, healthy immune system, but a lot of people don't work or think about their lymphatic system. And the reason we need to think about it is because it's one of the only functions of the body that doesn't have its own pump. So we think about our blood and our blood flow, and our heart is pumping that. We have different functions of the body that have their own pump. The only one that doesn't is the lymphatic system. And so if we're not active and if we're not moving, then it has a tendency to get stagnant. And as it gets stagnant and toxicity builds up, that's when we start to have issues inside of the body.
That brings a whole new meaning to the whole phrase, sitting is the new smoking. Because if I put that together, where if our lymph system isn't being, there's no pump moving it around and we're sitting all the time, I can see how that would be a negative effect on it. So speaking of, what are some signs that the lymph system is backed up?
So these are things that are common, and that's why it's nice to bring some awareness to them, because as busy moms, and that's who's going to be listening to this, right? When you mentioned sitting is the new smoking, I had to laugh because it's so true. And we think of our modern lifestyle and how much time we do spend sitting. We're sitting in the car at drop off and pick up. We're sitting in the car at commute. We're sitting in a restaurant waiting for dinner. We're sitting on the couch watching Netflix because we're exhausted at the end of the day. We're sitting at our desk doing our emails and doing our activities all day long. And so without that movement, it's getting backed up. So what are some signs? These are things like swelling. If you have swelling in your extremities, that can be in your ankles or your hands. That's kind of a more advanced sign that the lymph system has been inundated for quite a while and not working like it should. Other things are like constipation. That's just like a big red flag. Obviously, we're not eliminating and detoxing properly if the waste isn't getting out. And so stuff is going to start backing up. Another one is headaches and brain fog and a hard time waking up and feeling sluggish and achy. All of these are because we have toxicity in the body more than we should have. And so it's tipping the scales and making us feel worse. But the thing is, these things kind of like creep on over time. And so you don't really pay attention to it. Like, yeah, I'm getting more headaches than I used to. Yeah, it's harder for me to get out of bed than it used to be, but we attribute it to age, like I'm getting older, which is true, but it doesn't have to be as severe as what we could be dealing with. And it could be better if we were taking care of the system.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So how does this all tie into breast health?
Okay. So we've got our lymph nodes, and I have kind of like my little demo here. So we have these lymph nodes all over our body, and they're like a string of pearls. They can be the size of a pinhead. They can be as large as a lima bean. And we have a lot of them here. We have them in the groin area. We've got them along the sides of the neck. That's why sometimes we can kind of tell a cold coming on because our lymph nodes will start to swell and we'll be like, oh, something feels off. And that's a sign that our body's working, right? And that's a good thing. That's their job. But over time, this congestion, if it's not dealt with, then it gets more built up. And as this chain starts to get backed up, if you have one that starts to get backed up, then the overflow starts going to the next one and the next one. And that will create a blockage in the system. Well, the body goes, okay, I've got all of this excess toxicity. What am I going to do with it? I need to protect the vital organs. It wants to protect our liver, our kidneys, our pancreas, those kind of things. So it says, I know I'm going to shove it into non-vital tissue, which is fat. Where do we have fat? We have breast tissue. So the other thing that can lead to this is sometimes we are unintentionally but intentionally blocking one of these exit pathways, which is sweat.
Oh,
Right? So a lot of us grew up using antiperspirants because who wants to sweat? Nobody wants to sweat. Nobody wants to smell. So like if we have something that just shuts all that down, we thought it was fantastic. However, that's part of the detox process of the body. And so with that bacteria not being able to get out, where is it stuck? It's stuck here, backing up those lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are like, I'm inundated. The body goes, I need to put this somewhere. I'm going to shove it into a non-vital fatty tissue, which is in proximity, the closest is our breast tissue.
wow. Okay, I'm just trying to digest all that. I didn't actually put that together with the antiperspirants and kind of getting backed up in that area, affecting the lymph nodes, and then it being shuttled off and shoved away into the breast tissue, which is fatty tissue. So now that I have a lot of questions now about antiperspirants, and we can go there if you want to, but well, do you have a favorite one? Because I know that's a common question I get asked, by the way, from a lot of moms is what is on the safer, non-toxic side of deodorants or antiperspirants in this case, or both? What is a good one that works? You said no one wants to smell.
I know. Yes. So this is like the forever trying to find a good one. There are different brands out there. The thing is, honestly, I feel like every woman has to try it for herself because one brand that works for me might not work for somebody else. I use, I'm trying to think of the different ones that I've tried over the years, but just look for one, make sure it does not have aluminum. That is like number one. And you don't want it to be an antiperspirant. You don't want it to be something that's stopping the sweat. You just want it to be a deodorant. So we are going to still sweat, but that's actually okay. And as the body gets healthier and it has less toxicity in there, you don't smell as much because the smell is the bacteria coming out. It's like stagnant old stuff coming out. And as the body gets cleaner, you can sweat without smelling. It's possible. So the one thing that I will mention is people don't think about it, but when you're using anything natural, you have to reapply. So just keep that in mind. Like I always use natural deodorants now, but in, the winter time or when it's cooler, I can use it once in the morning and you're good to go. If it's hot, if you're like high 90s, if you live in the desert and it's hot, know that you're going to have to reapply and just kind of expect that. Don't Don't think it's weird. Don't think it's wrong. Don't think it's not working. It's just natural things don't leave residue, which is why they're easier on the body. And as we're sweating more, then you might have to reapply. But the other thing that I do like to mention is if you have a history of antiperspirant use, which most of us did, there is a residue there that you want to work on cleaning out. So something that works really well is doing a mud mask. We can just use a facial mud mask because that's for pulling and drying toxins out. You can use that under your arm and leave it on for about 10 minutes before you get in the shower. Just do this once a week. And it's just a really good way to clean out those surface cells right there, but then also be pulling out old, because if you've used antiperspirants in the past, I mean, when you shower, sometimes you can feel it, that it's still there. And you have to kind of scrub, think about all that residue that's been piled on year after year. So we want to work on cleaning this part of the body out.
Wow. Okay, so stay away from the aluminum, stay away from the antiperspirants, and throw those natural deodorants in your purse because you never know if you need to reapply. Got it. So we can't talk about breast health without talking about breast cancer. Do you want to dive into that a little bit? Do you have some stats? Is this related to what we're talking about?
Yes. So these stats I had to triple check because it shocked me when I was looking into this. And breastcancer.org, you can find the information there, but it is estimated that 1 in 8 women in the US will develop breast cancer at some point in their life.
1 in 8?
1 in 8.
Wow, that's like you have a group of girlfriends over and one of them is statistically going to be diagnosed with breast cancer then.
Yep.
Wow, that's
And the other one that I just saw recently that I hadn't seen before is that breast cancer accounts for 30% of the new cancer diagnosis in women. So that's about 1 in 3. So of women that are going through and they get a cancer diagnosis, chances are you have a 30% chance that that is going to be of a breast cancer origin.
wow. Okay. So what can we do? I'm sure every woman now that's listening right now is like, oh my God, it's scary, right? To talk about this, but it's not as scary when we talk about things that we can do for our health. I'm supposing that supporting our lymph system, maybe detoxing our lymph system would help. Is that true?
Yes. So things to focus on is looking at our lymph system. Do we have any of those symptoms that I was talking about? If you do, or you notice that you have swollen lymph nodes, or you just know that you're not detoxing properly, then work on that. Work on cleaning it out. There's things that I do. One of my tools is I love essential oils. So when people ask me what they can do, there's a lot of recommendations. There's different ones like clary sage is really good at supporting not only our hormonal health as women, but also releasing fluid from swollen tissues. Cypress is really good for circulation, so it can get stuff moving. That's what I use if I feel like I've got an area that's congested and it's not flowing. You can put some cypress oil on there. It's going to get that area moving. Juniper berry helps eliminate toxic waste. So that's a nice one. I put that over my kidneys, and you can also apply it to different tissue to help get rid of the toxicity inside of that area. Lavender is good. Lavender is good for so many things, but it helps reduce stress in the body, and it also helps reduce stress on our cells. So those are just a few ideas of oils that you can be using. Different modalities that I like to do they're fun to do and they're easy to do is dry brushing. I don't know have you heard about that?
Yeah.
I've tried that before. Okay.
Many in the audience may not have either done it or heard of it. So please share.
So dry brushing is something that we can do before we get in the shower. And it's one of those soft bristle brushes, and you want to just start from your extremities up towards the heart. And what that's doing is activating your lymph system. So our lymph system we have it all along here. It lies really shallow next to your skin. So you don't have to do a lot of pressure. Pressure is not the goal of this. The idea is just the movement and the friction so that you can get stuff moving. So using a dry brush before you get in the shower, you're going to start scrubbing up on your arms and your legs, and then you're going to get into the shower, wash off all that dead skin, and now your lymph system is moving. Another way that you can really amp this up is doing hot and cold in the shower. So that is an easy thing. At first, it's a little shocking and it's not quite comfortable, but I promise you, the more you do it, the more your body craves it. And you're going to get to where it feels really good. And it's basically, I kind of think of it like a washing machine for your body, because as you turn the water cold, what your body does is it pulls all the blood into your vital organs. And so that's like pulling the blood in backwards. And you can think of that like if you go skiing or you're out in the cold, what gets cold first? It's your extremities, it's your hands and your feet, because your body's pulling the blood in. Then when you go hot to the shower, it's pushing all the blood out to the surface of the skin to cool the body. So you're literally like flushing that blood back and forth, and it's really healthy for the body. So you've activated your lymph system with the dry brushing. You're pulling the blood in and out with a hot and cold shower. And then if you're using oils, depending on what you're working on, and I have recommendations for this. So if anybody is watching, has questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I've got little charts that you can look at, but you can kind of target what you want to work on with the oils, and it's just going to help amp up what you're doing even more.
Yeah, and I'll touch on this at the end too, but for those of you watching that do want to dive deeper into this, Beth is offering a free gift that's very generous. She's offering a free 15-minute consultation. So all of these ideas are great. You can run with them. And if you want to run with them even more and talk about them in more depth with her, you'll have that link in the email that brought you to this recording. So yay. I do kind of want to talk a little bit about, because like, as you said, breast cancer is so prevalent among women, that we either know someone probably that's been through it or is going through it, or maybe someone watching has been through it or is going through it. What are the things that we should be aware of? What should we be implementing? Let's touch more on that.
So one of the things that's really important, and I believe that this is one of the reasons that we deal with cancer more than men as women. And then number two, why the prevalence of breast cancer is so high. It has to do with the amount of toxicity that we take in on a daily basis. And part of this comes from what we're putting on our skin, and part of it comes from our environment. So they estimate on a daily basis as women, I think it's we put on like 128 chemicals every single day. And over a lifetime, I mean, we just think about this. And one of the things that I always picture is like, picture a day in our life, right? We wake up in the morning and we get into the shower and we're putting on shampoo and conditioner on open pores, scrubbing it into the cells right by our brain. And what are the ingredients in there? So we have to start checking the ingredients of the things that we're using. If it has chemicals, if it's got coloring, if it has fragrances in there, all of that is majorly toxic to the body. And then we get out of the shower, and on our clean, fresh skin, we're slathering pretty much head to toe in some kind of lotion. Where does that lotion come from? If it comes from Bath and Body Works, my friends, this is not good for you. And I used to love it back when I didn't know any better. And back when it never occurred to me that they would put stuff in these products that wouldn't be good for you. Like, why would they even do that? But anyways,
Should be safe, right?
you assume that they wouldn't put hormone disruptors in stuff that you're putting on your skin. So to our makeup, to all the things. So what are the things we're putting on our body each day? The other thing, as women, we typically do the majority of the cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we cleaning our home with? That's another area that's super, super important, because all of that is obviously like laden with chemicals and bleaches and things that are very harsh. That's why they're able to do the job that they do. But there's so many more natural options where we can be cleaning with things that aren't hurting our respiratory system, aren't leaching into our skin as we're using it to clean the surfaces of our home and of our bathrooms. And I think it's because of those two areas that we see the amount and the highness of breast cancer that we do, because we are touching those things all the time. And our skin's our largest organ. So what we're putting on our skin ends up inside of our body. So if we can switch out things that we're using on a daily basis, because it's not the things that we do the big things we do every once in a while that make the difference. It's the little things that we're doing every single day that make the biggest difference. And so if we can start swapping those out, then like over a lifetime, you've saved your body so much toxicity.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, I live in Northern California and we have the fire season, and I'm always so worried about going out and breathing the toxic air for the 1 or 2, maybe 3 days that we're exposed. But what you just said reminds me that, yeah, I mean, I should be worried about that, but it's such a small amount compared to the daily influx of toxins that we're exposed to through, like you said, the skincare products, the cleaning products, I'm sure the water, the food, the air. I mean, we can't escape all toxins, but like you said, is we can be cognizant about reducing the amount that we're exposed to, like in things like a deodorant or, you know, saying goodbye to the antiperspirant. And so making those little choices every day, and you don't have to clean out your entire, products in one foul swoop, right? You can just say, okay, I'm going to do this cupboard today. I'm going to do that drawer tomorrow or next month or whatever. And if your budget doesn't allow for it, spread it out, right? Each change is going to make a difference, if I understand correctly what you're saying.
Yeah, I think change the biggest pieces first, as quick as you can. But like you said, just wait. When you run out of something, the next time you buy it, make a more aware choice of what is in the ingredients of the things that you're buying and just switch it out as you're replacing stuff.
And just so the listeners know, we actually have an expert that is diving deep into the skincare and cleaning products and how to read a label and how to choose better, safer products. So I know we don't have time to jump into that in depth, but we do have an expert that is. So make sure to go watch that if this is of interest to you. So, Beth, I mean, we could talk about this more and more and like probably hours, I'm thinking. But what if you could maybe narrow down to three your top tips for women regarding the lymph system and breast health? If what would you say to us right now if you had to just say like change these three things? These are the most important things. What would those be? I
I
know.
would say, I know there's like so many ideas flooding it. I would say movement. Activate your lymph system. This can be jumping jacks, trampoline, get your body moving up and down. That is going to be one of the biggest ways to get that system moving in the first place. Hydrate, be drinking lots of water, give your body a tool to be flushing out these toxins. I do use the oils in my water as well. Make sure they're safe for internal use if you want to do that. But adding something like lemon oil to your water, anything that you can do, if you can punch it up and make it be working even more, I'm totally into that. So adding lemon to your water, implementing something like the dry brushing or the hot and cold shower. And one of the things that I love about any of these things that people decide to do is these are things that we have control over. There's so many things in our day and age that we don't have control over. They can make us crazy, but we have control over these. It's literally adding an extra 5 to 10 minutes once or twice a week before you shower and doing those things, but it's going to make a huge impact over a lifetime. And this is something that we can do on ourselves. We don't have to wait for somebody. We don't have to wait for somebody to get home to help us do it. Like this is stuff that we can do on our own and take control of this part of our life.
And I love that when you talked about the dry skin brushing and especially the hot cold shower thing, it can sound very scary, but it's actually become one of my most favorite things to do because it actually wakes you up and invigorates you too. When I come out of the shower, like when you take kind of just a hot shower or a very warm shower, sometimes you leave the shower feeling more tired. But with this technique that you're talking about that activates our lymph system and gets it moving, the hot cold shower and alternating, you leave, and especially if you leave on the cold, you leave. It's amazing, and you will grow to love it.
True. And just for women that are like, I'm going to try this out, you don't have to go the first time. You don't have to go super hot and super cold. Just start easy, just get it. And then pretty soon your skin can take more and more and your tolerance just gets bigger. So it doesn't have to be a miserable experience. And it'll definitely wake you up. That's for sure.
I mean, you could go extreme. I have friends in Minnesota that literally in the winter jump into the ice cold lakes. I'm not quite there yet. So baby steps. Well, Beth, this has been incredibly informative. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to touch on?
Yeah, there was. Let me see. Trying to think. For anybody that is dealing with cancer or um has a history of it, this is one thing I would say. And you asked me this, and I wanted to touch on it. If you've had a history of cancer and you've gone through treatment and things are looking good, that is awesome. Something to think about is the root of the problem. Where did it come from in the first place? Why was that dis-ease in the body in the first place? That's usually not addressed. And so that's why years later, it can kind of show up maybe in a different spot because the root of the problem was never taken care of. So these are things like this is, I mean, for all of us, this is like important to be healthy and to have longevity into our older years. But especially if someone's already gone through an issue with something in their body like this, they really need to be cognizant and make this part of their lifestyle because there was a little bit of a hitch in there somewhere that caused this dis-ease and this growth or this accumulation of bad cells in a certain area. And just removing that doesn't get rid of the fire, doesn't get rid of the problem. So these are things. And here's the thing. This is the best news ever. The body's goal is always to heal. That is the body's primary function and desire. It just needs the tools to do so, and it needs the environment to do so. So if we can help create that environment by reducing the toxic load that we're taking in, if we can be supplying it with good foods and hydration and, natural products that are giving it tools to use for different things, the body's always going to be working. We don't have to say, please work on repairing. Our body's like, thank you. I've been waiting. This is what I want to do, and it will get to work.
I love that. I'm going to leave it there because that was such a perfect ending to kind of sum up what we just spoke about. Beth, I am so grateful that you came and spoke on this topic. I know it's near and dear to many women's hearts, literally. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This is great.